いつも君と待ち続けた季節
You both seem awfully calm.
Only because after everything we've...
How are you holding up, Rinwell? That whole talk about the Renans looked like it shook you.
Yeah. I get this sinking feeling whenever I remember how But I was thinking, if Renans end up living together with Danans again, then mages won't be such an unusual thing to I know it's not as simple. Danans probably won't be so quick to let their guards down. And there might be Renans who still act superior.
It wouldn't surprise me. 300 years.
Yeah. I know firsthand just how much hatred can take hold in your heart once you let it in. But even so, I was still able to change. So I was thinking maybe, I don't know, I could use my position as both a Danan and a mage to help bring both.
Rinwell.
That great spirit worries me too, though. Dana's will feels so warm and inviting. So why is Rena's...
Now that you mention it, Everett 35 and the other scientists here never really...
Maybe. But regardless, at the end of the day, Dana's still our home. There's no way...
We won't. We'll keep it...
Oh, it's you two.
He who? Oh, you mean...
I know that we're all struggling to wrap our minds around it all, but he looked like he was taking it really...
What do you think about everything we've learned? About the Renans and the Great Spirit and all that?
On some level, I'm not even really sure what to think, to be honest. I mean, but if that thing's hellbent on trying to destroy our planet, then the only thing left for us to do is... As for the Renans, I suppose my feelings on that are a bit more mixed.
How so?
Coexistence between Danans and Renans in Menancia is still a work. In my case, I think that's partly because deep down, to be told that they're like us, that they're actually...
You kept a pretty level head.
You mean about the Renans? At the end of the day, but at the same time, I realize that not every Danan is...
I know you're already aware of this, but the list of grievances that... And... if people then find out that they're all actually one and the same.
Even just among the Danans, I'm sure there'll be some who... I think if we can find a way to get rid of that imbalance, then we'll be in a truly...
Well, first we can try to figure out what to do about the existing conflicts we have.
Yeah. It'd be nice if one...
It's no small task. We can't pretend like the past...
Right. Everybody has their reasons for feeling the way that they do. But if we just keep yelling at each other, in a worst-case scenario, it might lead to even more people getting killed.
And we all have to figure out how to meet halfway. Not just that, but to also embrace each other's...
That's an interesting way of putting it.
It's true. It won't be achieved through reasoning. But I think it's a good first step, if nothing else. And now, I think I see a way to move forward. But...
I still can't believe it, man.
You're not the only one still trying to make sense of all this. Believe me.
Really? You've never struck me as the type of guy to get hung up on these sorts.
Did you forget what happened back in Thistleum? Once my memories started coming back to me, I felt completely and totally...
It was really that bad for you?
Yeah, it was. But thanks to Law and everybody else...
Man, I think you might be a better guy than me, Alphen. All I can remember thinking was,
Law.
I was too worried about repeating the same mistakes I'd made back with my dad, and running away from that was no way to live. And I've tried to stay strong. But all this talk about other races and the world ending, if I can be honest with you guys, it's just all...
I know this is going to sound strange coming from me, but maybe the key is not to worry too much about the big stuff right now.
Oh?
I used to worry all the time about my thorns, for obvious reasons. But I never really opened, and when I realized my visions pointed to a threat that was bigger than me, I didn't know what I should do, or who to tell. But that's when I finally got it. You guys were all there for me, to teach me what's really important. I just had to open up and listen.
In other words, if you let the big picture stuff get you all muddled up inside, you'll begin to lose sight of what you really care about. Yeah, I think you're right.
The thing that's most important. All I want to do is protect the people that really matter to me.
Not everyone is strong enough to fight.
Huh?
It's something your dad told me once when he was still alive. Law, you know you're strong enough to fight. Forget all the big stuff going on. Just don't lose sight of what you want to protect in the first place.
Yeah. It's like a big weight's been lifted off. I'll fight to protect the people around me. Just like I always have.
I apologize for making you witness that.
You mean hearing the origins of the Renans?
Indeed. It's shocking to have so many things I thought to be indelible fade away in mere seconds.
Even I'm still not sure everything we've heard here is actually true.
Let's not delude ourselves. If what we've heard is a lie, it's a rather elaborate one. I can only imagine that you must have been constantly feeling like this, ever since your memory returned, Alphen. And you as well, Shion. About your...
That's just part of being alive, don't you think?
Well, to say the least. But enough about me.
When you say the other Renans...
Correct. Even if we stop the Great Spirit from annihilating Dana, our problems will... Putting aside the untold state that Rena may be in, if we do not truly belong there, we will have to think...
So, I guess your only real choices at this point are to either stay on Lenegis, or come down...
And at the same time, Danans are hardly likely to embrace Renans with open arms. If the issue is forced, things could turn dire. There is, after all, 3 centuries worth of hatred to overcome, and the victims of our rule have absolutely every right to feel animosity towards us Renans.
I didn't expect the former Lord of Menancia to be so down about people reconciling.
Menancia's fate was there had been backlash over how it had been ruled, and I was blessed to have sympathizers among my ranks. Still, even now, there remain ardent dissidents.
But things can still change if you have the right people to help lead the way. Isn't that what you hope to achieve on Lenegis?
Indeed. I have fully accepted the burden of that responsibility. In that regard, I remain determined. On that note, I have something of a favor to ask.
Oh? What it?
I wish for you to serve as a mediator so that the Renans can live on Dana peaceably. As the one and only Blazing Sword, I suspect the
And I take it that you'll be the one to represent the Renans?
Yes. I realize that I'm asking however, the fact of the matter is that it will take time for Renans to re-enter Danan society without any bloodshed.
You're the same as ever, Do.
Is it too much?
No, relax. You get so tense and formal when you're asking for a favor.
You're too kind. I can see you were...
That's some high praise, Alphen.
Then I'll ask once again, this time just as friends. Alphen, will you help?
You don't even need to ask.
Thank you.
Well, it sounds like everyone's learning from their past and using it to create a better future for everyone.
What about you, Shion? How do you feel about the origin of the Renans?
To be honest, I'm not really all that shocked, actually. I mean, I might be a Renan in the right now, it's...
How do you mean?
Because for a really, really long time, all I ever thought about was how I was going to die. I thought I'd die alone. That fate had me in its steely grip. I would have never imagined that I'd be traveling with someone like you. fighting to save Rena and Dana. It's been going on for 300 years. It was Naori's hope that somehow, someone in the future would be able to stop. How it fell on us, of all people, to heed that call is a mystery.
I don't think Naori was hoping that we would just stop the world from getting destroyed. She considered me a Danon. I don't think she wanted the world to be saved, just so that...
Huh?
When we were talking to Kisara earlier, about all that stuff, like everyone's... She said that the first step down that path was for each of us to put aside our own hate. That means forgiving other people. Even and especially...
Forgiving. So it goes both ways, right?
Yeah. I don't just mean forgiving things that happened in the past. If we have any hope of moving on and building a better future, we...
You know, you're right. People can hurt one another.
It's not going to be easy getting past, but if we can do it, I'm sure there'll come a time when we can all truly understand each other. I'm there with you, Shion. I too want to protect the world we live in, and all the people. I think that's the very least I can do to...
Yeah. I want a future that she would feel proud to live in. And I'm going...
Whoa there, Savior Girl. We're here to save you.
Yes, I know. Don't worry, I haven't...
Well, is everybody ready to do what needs to be done?
I am. There's a lot to think about, but at the end of the day, Dennis, I don't care who we're up against.
What are your thoughts, Alphen? I want to know what's on your...
Like Law said, if we have to fight the Great Spirit on Rena, then so be it. It's trying to rob us of our entire world. And it's going to take not just our home, but all of existence along with it. That alone is enough to make it our enemy. But it's not only that. One way or another, I think beating the Great Spirit is going to be tied to us saving...
You're saying there's a chance?
You're referring to the vision of destruction we all saw in Lenegis, I take it?
Yeah. 3 centuries ago, the astral energy that appeared at the spirit channeling ceremony. And to hear Shion tell it, it's the same one that she sees from her own thorns as well.
Indeed. Shion's thorns are comprised of dark astral energy, the one type which we know is native only to Rena. And if Rena's great spirit is what's behind Dana's pending destruction, then...
Shion's thorns are the Great Spirit? It's not actually on Rena like we thought?
We don't know anything for certain. At the very least, though, I think it's possible her thorns are a part of the Great Spirit.
While the main body resides in Rena.
Shion.
If these thorns really are a part of Rena's great spirit, I'm going to go over there and give it a piece of my mind and then some.
The question is, how do we confront it? Suffice it to say, that flower growing out of Rena is enormous, large enough to house the will of an entire planet. The Wedge and Lenegis were both hard enough for us to overcome in their own right. This is an altogether greater...
And we only know about the Thorn's connection thanks to Naori.
Hevric 35 has been observing the Great Astral Spirit this whole time. It wouldn't ask us to fight it unless it has a plan of some sort. Let's go see what that is. Our minds are made up. Let's go give Hevric 35 our answer.
Do you have your answer for me?
We want to ask something first. You must have something up your sleeve, or else you wouldn't put us up to it.
The great astral spirit is an immense being, but its will is derived from the core, which supports the rest of the body, and is therefore, if you destroy the core, the great spirit shall become unable to maintain
And how are we supposed to do
by using the Renaissance? You will also need the assistance of both the Sovereign and the Maiden. They are our best tools for using their powers. The Maiden shall seal the great astral spirit within her body, and the Sovereign shall...
Hold on. That sounds a lot like what Shion described before.
Yeah, killing herself to take out the Thorns with her.
She was actually right all along.
By my calculations, your powers combined should be sufficient to destroy the great astral spirit.
What will happen to the maiden once we manage to beat the great astral spirit?
Any matter contained within the field of destruction shall be erased.
So it really will kill me.
This method is the most simple one available to destroy.
What are our other options?
There is little reason to consider alternative courses of action when the most clear.
You don't get it. I promised Shion that she wouldn't die. That we'd save the world without needing— We didn't fight this whole time just to give up on her at the very end. If there's any other way to take out the Great Spirit,
This plan shall lead to the fewest losses in preserving your world. Abandoning it is irrational. It is vital that you proceed with this plan. 300 years ago, the Great Spirit descended upon Lenegis in an attempt— We have reason to believe the Great Spirit left part of itself behind, and that it now resides in the Maiden.
Which would make Alphen's earlier hypothesis correct.
That part inside the Maiden belongs to the core, and can be used by the great astral spirit. So long as it remains, it will be all but impossible to fully eradicate the Great Spirit. That is why it is necessary for it to be vanquished only once it— Without the Maiden's direct control over the Great Spirit, attacking it is futile.
No.
Wait. Naori said that the Renis Alma can suppress the self-realization of astral energy, and that the thorns can— If so, can't the same also be done to the Great Spirit, seeing as the thorns are simply—
Well, can it?
It is true that the Renis Alma is capable of what you suggest, and could contain the great astral spirit.
Yes!
However, doing so requires fine control on the level of the spirit channeling ceremony. Considering that the Renis Alma was previously lost when that ceremony failed, I cannot allow it. Its uncertainty is simply too great.
What does that mean for us if you won't allow it?
Your starship will not be restored, and you will all be unable to leave here.
Why you?
Fine, then. I'd rather stay here and rot than do it your way.
Alphen?
Whatever we do, if we mess up, Dana's screwed. The Great Spirit will destroy it. If you're fine letting that happen, and we have nothing to gain either way, then I'd rather do nothing. We want to stop Dana from getting destroyed. We want to save it. But not if it means having to sacrifice one of us. If all you're gonna do is sit back and watch us where it's safe, then quit ordering us around and shut up!
Alphen.
What you say is irrational. Be that as it may, I shall accede to your demand.
You'll agree?
I am an observer. The Sovereign, Maiden, and Renis Alma, I wish to see how well they work against the Great Spirit in light of our demise by it.
But what are we supposed to do about the Renis Alma? One of your buddies ran off with it back—
It is likely that the Renis Alma is with the Great Spirit, functioning as a catalyst for it to receive Dana's—
So our only option to retrieve it is to head straight for the Great Spirit and take it back?
According to my observations, the astral energy is most densely concentrated in the center of Rena, where the—
So right in the middle of that giant flower, then.
I have one more question. You've said that Rena's great astral spirit is already integrated with the planet. What will happen to Rena once it vanishes?
Without the will of the Great Spirit, Rena is predicted to collapse. Even in such a scenario, the energy will disperse, and the—
So you're saying that even if we manage to beat the Great Spirit without destroying it, we'll still be in danger?
Likely, the collapse will occur in stages. It is recommended that you all escape before the final stage.
Man, I wish that thing would tell it to us straight for once.
Evrek 35 and the others have gotten used to hypothesizing from afar, is all. Fix our starship. We're going to Rena.
Excellent.
But I want to make one thing clear. We're doing this for ourselves, to protect what matters to us. We're not doing it for your sake, or because you told us to. Remember that.
It matters little to me. The end result shall be the same. Repair work on your starship has commenced. You'll have to wait until it's finished.
Man, is it too much to ask for Hevrick 35 to talk like a normal person? I swear I can feel my brain starting to fry after listening to all that complicated stuff.
Don't worry.
You still thinking about what the scientists told us? About where Renans really come from?
I am, but not for myself.
You're worried about the future of the Renan people.
The fact that our people have been the same this whole time will only give the Danans further reason to resent us.
But you still intend to confront this truth head-on, don't you?
Well, I did declare that I would live my life for the living, and not the dead. Even as I dream of retirement, I shall remain dedicated to the cause.
I'm sure you'll do great.
Now that I think about it, I don't believe I've ever heard you criticize or reproach us Renans even once.
I'm no saint. I have skeletons in my closet too. There was definitely a time when I hated Renans for who they were. I hated them just for being Renan. But you changed that, Dohalim. You gave me an opportunity to see them in a different light. Thanks to your reforms, we were able to stand next to Renans not as slaves, but as equals for the first time in our lives. Of course, I'm sure there were some Renans who still hated us on the inside. But we knew that not all of you were like that. There were those of you who were good, and that was a start. When it comes down to it, Renans are just people. They can be good or bad, just like Danans.
That is, in essence, the heart of—
Yeah, it is. When you can pull someone aside and talk to them one-on-one, but as soon as you stereotype, that chance goes away.
I understand what you're saying, but we're talking about massive numbers of Ren. Realistically speaking, surely—
Even if we end up butting heads with one person, if we can build a society that works like that—
So you wish for people to form real bonds and do away with the hierarchy outright?
Yes, I do. I think it would make for a fine tribute to my brother's legacy. Though, that's— Do you still plan to return to Lenegis when this is over?
Indeed I do. I don't know whether I'll be able to reside in Lenegis proper, however. My first order of business may be to—
You'll always have a home in Menancia, you know.
As I shall ever keep it—
Well, if you ever need a helping hand, don't hesitate to come get me, Doe.
Did you just— Thank you, Kisar. I appreciate your patience as I work all this—
Don't even mention it. Don't you think that brings down a barrier that—
You know?
Yeah.
Hey, why'd you call me here? Was there something you want?
Well, if everything we've heard about the Great, so I wanted to apologize while I can.
Apologize?
I was being real stupid before. About whether Dana's will had been controlling us and all that. I get why you're angry now. Anybody would be if something they trusted was being questioned. So, I'm sorry, Rinwell. Really.
No, Law. Honestly, I think you might have been onto— Of course you were worried. Who wouldn't be if they found out there might be some invisible force pulling our strings this whole time?
But you really trust Dana's will, don't you? Is it because you can sense it a lot more than the rest of us? Because you can understand it?
Yeah, I think that might be part of it. But I think I also want to believe it's good.
Believe?
Remember how I used to really resent coming from a family of mages?
Yeah, of course. Because you were always on the run and had to live in hiding.
When we rescued Zephyr and I finally decided to come along with you all, something changed inside me. It was the first time I felt like my powers had any meaning, even if that meaning was only helping you guys fight. Then, when I felt Dana's will, I was overwhelmed by how vast and warm it was. It made me want to believe my powers were made to connect with it. It made me believe I had a bigger purpose.
So that's why you hope it doesn't turn out to be bad. You almost need it to be kind.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Then I promise I'll lay off bad-mouthing it.
You will?
There's no way for me to know for sure what—
Remember what I said about neither planet's great spirit reaching us here? That's not quite true.
You—
I sensed it when we first got here. It's a really small amount, but I think that's how Dana's energy—
So you're saying there's a little bit of Dana— In a way, doesn't that mean we're all Dana's will?
What?
Well, like you said, unless Dana's energy comes together, it has no will.
Yeah.
Heverick 35 might know the answer. But, you know what? I don't need to ask it. My will is my own, so thanks, Rinwell, for sharing that with me. To be honest, the only reason I was suspicious of I feel like you and I had grown up—
Huh?
Never mind. Nothing. Just forget about it. I don't remember
Come
saying
on.
anything.
Now you won't tell me what you were thinking?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Then spit it out already.
You sure you don't want to get some rest?
I can't. I've got too much on my mind. Especially knowing how close—
Same as you, still trying to absorb everything.
Remember when it was so simple? We were only fighting all the lords on Dana? All of that feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
Ages and ages ago. Everything that's happened since we first met. So—
If I hadn't run into you that day, well, I wouldn't have met all of you. I never would have held the blazing sword or looked for something more. I wouldn't have my memories back. I'd still be a faceless slave, like as not long dead.
Hey, Alphen. I want you to promise me something.
Yeah?
If we can't find the Renis Alma, there's something I want you to do. Like Heverick 35 said, the only way we can end the Great Spirit for good is to go after both the main body in Rena and the thorns in me. I need you to promise me, Alphen, that if for some reason we can't get the Renis Alma, you'll use the Blazing Sword to destroy the Great Spirit, and me along with it.
Huh?
It's true the Blazing Sword may not have the strength of the Renis Alma, but it's taken us this far. It's slain lords and beasts. At the very least, it has to be worth a try.
You can't be serious. If you think that
Listen, the Great Spirit isn't just our problem. We don't know what's going to happen when we face it, but we need to be prepared for anything. We can't second-guess ourselves when the time comes. I promise you, I'm not planning on going anywhere. I'm prepared to fight with but if it comes down to it...
Okay, but you should know that I'm not going to give up, and I hope you can forgive me.
Alphen, okay. I understand. So it's a promise then?
Yeah.
I remember how I felt the first time you touched me. My thorns made any contact a mistake no one would ever make twice. After they'd seen what could happen, fear would always linger behind their eyes. In my entire life, but when you reached out to me and gently took my hand, you didn't react at all. I don't have words for the shock I felt in that moment.
That's because I couldn't feel pain back then.
Even once you could, though, you still chose to keep reaching out to me. And when you did, I felt this... But still, I hate having to see you suffer through it every time.
You won't have to worry about that for much longer.
You think so?
I do, because
No. You can tell me once my thorns are gone. Okay?
Everybody get enough rest?
Yeah, we
Agreed.
Our task is relatively straightforward. We need only descend down to Rena, defeat the great—
We're fighting for a new
Right.
Then let's go, everybody. We've got one last wall.
Repairs on your starship are complete. Everything is in...
Is that you, Hevrek 35?
I can see anywhere within the bounds.
Sounds like someone's...
Maybe we should give Hevrect 35 a break. It has been stuck in this tiny...
I have unlocked all functions.
Warp drive? Wait, you mean like what the Red Women used on us? What brought us here?
It's possible that the Red Women may have found a way to activate it on the starship. They are—
Using the warp drive, you should be able to breach Rena's atmosphere without being...
Wait. Should?
You'll need to be careful. Due to the force field surrounding Rena, the ship will be unable to go any further than the surface of the planet.
So, once we reach the shell, it appears we'll have to infiltrate the core by foot. Understood.
We gotta go all the way down.
Will all the Helganquil go back to normal once we defeat the Great Spirit? I have a strange feeling we're going to have to fight them, but...
The extinction of my people is inevitable. As such, it would be...
Can't that thing lighten up a bit?
Well,
Hold up. Did you just...
I have one last question.
What?
As Sovereign, your identification number indicates that you are well past your predicted life. Similarly, the Maiden lacks any identification number as her function. Despite this, the two of you continue to exist. Why?
We exist because others have entrusted this to us. Over the years, many people have come together and sworn to see this through to the end.
You mean it is because of multiple chance interactions? Why have you two continued to persist under these conditions?
It's hard to explain. To be honest, I don't think it's something All right, time to get back on the fall lights.
It would appear that our Helganquil host really has fulfilled its end of the bargain.
You know what that means. Time to go to Rena.
I guess this means we should give that warp drive a spin.
There's nothing here. This weird ocean we're surrounded by just stretches out everywhere. Is this really where the Helganquil come from?
I don't sense even a trace of astral energy. This world is...
Then this must be the hollowing.
You mean to tell me this whole world? The entire...
And it's covering everything. The entire planet.
This is what the Great Spirit does. After it depleted this planet of every last...
So arresting. This...
Back in its day, Rena was probably... But after being robbed of its astral energy for so long, those days are gone.
So the Great Spirit took everything. It stole energy not just from living beings, but the land, the...
And it bound the Helganquil in servitude, until their whole world was nothing but this. And by the looks of it...
With nothing left here to consume, the Great Spirit turned its sights on Dana.
You're saying if we don't stop it, this is what Dana's going to look like?
We can be sure that even these few remaining remnants of Renan life...
If the oblivion and darkness both Shion and Naori saw comes to pass, nothing will survive. It looks like we can climb down from there. Let's take a look.
So this is...
A hollowed ocean as far as the eye can see. What do you think would happen if we fell in?
What do you mean, what would happen? You'd drown, wouldn't you?
Come to think of it, I don't believe I've heard of someone ever trying. Perhaps you'd like the glory of being the first?
Nah, I'll pass.
This is essentially a world-sized Renan graveyard. Are you proposing to disturb the dead slumber just to satisfy your curiosity, Law?
No, because I said I passed.
Taking an interest is understandable, but let's not forget where we are. This place deserves our respect.
Looks like we're not going to be hearing the end of this one for a while.
You'd think I was already snorkeling in it or something.
Looks like we've warped into that pit of astral energy.
Helganquil!
Guess they don't need their Red Woman disguises anymore.
Wait, can you understand us?
It's no use. We're not going to get through to them.
So they really are being controlled. In that case, We've got no choice.
I knew there was something off here!
They're not pulling punches. We have no choice but to beat them at their own game.
Void Flash! Strike!
Raging storm!
Eat dirt!
Begin! Here I go! And again!
Here I come! Severing Wing! Strike!
Annihilation! Mega Ray! Carve now through all!
Take this! Sword Lane Alpha! Coming through! Ha! Now! Scarlet Inferno!
On your knees.
Leave the enemy's strength to me.
Win!
No complaints here!
Take this!
Freeze Laser! Raging Cascade! I'm going to use my power between heaven and earth.
Severing
A
Wing!
wailing banshee of lightning! Divine
Enough done!
Savior! Here I go! Don't mind if I do!
Yours to be let free! Rising Falcon!
Lunar corruption!
Severing Wind!
Wind Asteroid! Raging
Void Flash!
Cascade!
Resonate with the
You picked the wrong fight! But did it!
Between heaven and earth always.
A wailing banshee of lightning!
No, I mean, you're even better than ever. I've never seen Xion actually look flustered.
Here I come!
Tempest Swirl! Up and down!
Severing Wind! You're mine!
Astral Energy!
Say no more! Just!
Well done.
Now we're never... I'm not done!
Light Astral illuminate the dark!
Strike!
Come forth,
Void
holy,
Flash!
holy land!
Here I come! I'm ready! Still!
This ends now!
Consider yourself finished!
Alphen,
I can't forgive them for what they've done, but I hate killing them. They don't even know why they're fighting. How does that even make them any different from the Danon slaves?
Perhaps. However, if we don't make a choice, the guilt of not doing anything will be that much worse.
Yeah, I know. I hate for it to be like this. But if it happens again...
I wonder if we're going to get attacked again.
If we lose heart...
So the idea is to seal the Great Spirit inside the Renaissance using the Sovereign and Maiden's power. But just how do we do that exactly?
I'm guessing it won't be as easy as holding a spirit channeling ceremony at our leisure.
I already had wielded astral energy once 3 centuries ago. As for suppressing her thorns, Xion's had a lifetime's experience. The problem isn't just our enemy's strength, it's that it's sentient too. And you can bet anything you like it's not going to just sit back and let us destroy it.
in other words, we need to find some way to weaken it in advance. The Great Spirit, that is.
Back when Xion's thorns flew out of control, we were able to deal with them directly. If this is their host, they should be even more corporeal here.
If that's the case, it should make them easier to attack at least. And if we can manage to divert enough energy away from the spirit's core, even temporarily,
We might just be able to weaken it, and it won't be easy, but it's our only shot. Time to buckle up.